to dig into your SR3 experience, because I love SR3 and what you guys are doing there.
Yeah,
I mean,
me too.
you've cut your teeth in the world's most challenging environments between Australia and Canada and the mountains of Whistler, Blackcomb, and that whole area. But looking back on your career before we get into the SR3 stuff, we talked about the pranks earlier, and like that's one of the funnest parts of being a young man in fire and in any industry, right? But it's so fun to look back on those things. What's one of the funniest pranks that you've been a part of? I'd imagine you've been a part of some pretty good ones, either on the fire or on the rescue side.
Oh, like which one exactly, right? Like I'd say the fire by a million miles more so. Like, yeah, I mean the rescue stuff now is they're probably quite tame compared, but you take a bunch of mid-20s dudes and send them out of the bush for a few months and say I'll see you later. Like things get a little loopy for sure, but I don't know. It's one that we used to do all the time. It's probably not even the best one, but it's the one that comes to mind. Is we used to fly, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of patrols. So we basically, I mean, there were days we'd be in the air for 6 hours, and we basically get in Bell 212. We'd have a crew leader in the front, six crew members in the back, and we were absolutely top to bottom gacked out, like full Nomex, bags, kits. Like it was just a clown car back there. It was so jammed up, and we were bored out of our minds, to be honest. And if you weren't sitting on the window, there was nothing you could do. Like the window guys had to look out the window and pay attention, and that was kind of part of the job. But if you weren't sitting on a window, if you were in one of the middle seats, then you really had no reason to be there other than just seat meat, right? So we were pretty bored most of the time. There was lots of sleeping and eating and screwing around going on. And one of my favorite ones we always used to do is, inevitably, pretty much every flight, someone would always fall asleep, right? Like guaranteed, because that thing just pushed you to bed. It's like, amazing. So it'd always be coordinated because we always knew our pilot and they were good sports most of the time. So to be like, all right, like we all had these big bags that we'd clip to our harnesses on the front. And so we'd all unclip those. And the first guy that obviously falls asleep was the victim. And it would always be like, all right, like guys, I'm like the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. The pilot's going to do a bit of a move, and we're gonna turn his headset volume right up. So it was like full blast, and we'd all just freaking scream and holler and bang and crash, and we'd all grab our bags and throw the bags on the guy who was asleep, and he'd wake up and thinking we're about to die. And I mean, it was, God, we probably did that 100 times, and it never got old. Like that was one of my personal favorites. It's so childish, but geez, it was fun. I still laugh thinking about it, man. We got some guys really good. I never fell asleep, so I quite enjoyed sitting. I was happily the guy that sits on the window and gets to throw the bags at the guys. I was quite happy. There's some guys, the guys that just love to sleep all the time, so they took advantage of it. But you're asking for trouble.
I could see you in the window giggling at everybody over there. Although man, I could actually see you like orchestrating the whole thing, like the quarterback.
Yeah, Jeff, the worst seat was the rear-facing seat. There was one that kind of sat back-to-back with the pilot, and you couldn't even look out the window, man. You literally had nothing to do, so you'd be writing notes on and put them in people's mouths, and like, God, I mean, I could find you pictures. It's classic. Best job ever.
Jeff, I know as a young man you were in those positions too. What was, looking back on your youth, what was your most memorable prank that you were a part of?
Oh man, there's been way too many of them to even remember all of them, but yeah, like guys falling asleep, that was always the go-to, like, sticking stuff in their mouths, taking pictures of them or whatever. But gosh, what we one of the things we would do is take new guys out when we were doing hoist qualifications, and they'd be like, hey, we're going to go, especially like at Camp Roberts, there was this area we'd go to where the river was running through, and there was like a little island. And so we'd start lowering the new guy down to the island. We're like, hey, we're going to put you on this, on the rock. And of course I was victim of this when I was a new flight medic, but you're going down to this rock and you're trying to, get your feet on the rock. And then just before you get to the rock, they slide over and dunk you right into the water and then bring you back up. And just stuff like that. But we were always, that's one thing, especially in the military, you got a lot of free time on your hands, and guys are going to turn on each other, and there's going to be some, pretty hilarious pranks. So I can't even begin to even recall most of them, but They were all
It was like there was
hilarious,
so
especially.
many. It was just
Well, like you
and they
said,
just all
Rob, like
blended in after a while.
yeah, and you're just at that point, you're just like it's like punch drunk. You're just like
Oh yeah.
you got to do something to bide your time, and so you're always
Yeah.
doing something with your buddies and pranking them. And I mean, I had it was dead, but it was still squirming. But like guys put a rattlesnake on my bag, covered it up with my
Oh, yeah.
my BDU top, and when we
That's
were
a good
out in the sticks, and then I go running down there. They're like, "Hey, get your stuff, let's go!" And I grab my shirt off, and I had a gun with me, and I almost ended up shooting my bag just to kill the rattlesnake that was on there, but it was already dead. There was no head, but just stuff like that. We were always finding ways to mess with each other. And that's, I think, some of the best memories that you have of these kind of jobs, because you've got to break it up with, some sort of, you got to break up the mundane, day to day with some fun pranks. And you're really working with some of your best friends that you'll ever have in these jobs,
Yeah. That's 100%. These guys are guys. I literally texted a couple of them a couple hours ago. Like I'm still in contact with them.
I mean, I'm thinking about the last prank that we had on us, and it was actually Rob and Dave when we were at Austin, and John and I go into we go in to listen to, I think it was Terry Maiauchi speak, and we come back out, and these guys are all sitting around having an impromptu Hangar Z episode at our recording area
with a dog. We had a dog.
Yes, yeah, the best
guest
we've ever had.
Guest.
Yeah.
The best part about it is I had no clue what you guys were doing. We come out there and you guys are standing by our booth, and I'm like, oh, they're just hanging out, like waiting for us to say. I'm like, it's really nice of them. Yeah, and I think it was like a day later. We came across like an Instagram post.
The post
Dave had put up.
We put it up later. We used to do. You mentioned the water dunking, Jeff. We used to do the same thing. You know what we called it? The baptism.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
It was good.
Yeah, good times.
God, man.
Kevin Hart.
We had a really good time with you guys in Austin, man. That was just a blast.
Yeah, that was so much fun.
Just hanging out at the conference, and then going out to getting barbecue and riding scooters through the mean streets of Austin, like a scooter gang. That was fun.
Badass.
Yeah, at one point there was like 15 of us riding scooters together,
ripping down the street. Yeah, pretty standard.
I thought for sure we were going to end up on that scooters behaving badly or whatever it is, Instagram.
I'm disappointed we didn't, to be honest.
Right, I know.
We may have at some point somewhere. We just didn't see it.
Right. It's time, boys.
Oh, nice. The backup's coming in.
Yep.
I need one of those.